On a rainy night, a man returned home. What seemed like an ordinary evening turned out to be anything but. He noticed something strange with the surveillance cameras. The lobby's automatic doors kept opening and closing with no one there. Another camera showed the same. Then the elevator dinged, and the doors opened right on his floor. Holding a knife while on the phone, the man cautiously approached, peeked outside, and suddenly collapsed. From beginning to end, no one appeared. A bizarre murder had just taken place. Meanwhile, in London, the Home Secretary, Isaac, was preparing for a live interview. Originally from Nigeria, he had immigrated to the UK, married a kind and gentle wife, and had 2 lovely children. His life seemed smooth, now holding one of the most powerful positions in the government. At the time, a Chinese AI company was seeking entry into the UK market, offering surveillance systems to protect British citizens. The BBC invited Isaac to share his views. Careful with his words, Isaac maintained a neutral stance, avoiding direct opinions. While speaking with 2 journalists, his young son wandered in, instantly winning over the public as the nation saw a loving father figure on live television. For now, Isaac's storyline runs separately from that of the show's female lead, Rachel. Rachel had been part of the counter-terrorism team for some time, but she was not trusted. Gemma sidelined her to the maps department, giving her only menial tasks. Meanwhile, Nadia, once Rachel's subordinate, was quickly rising through the ranks. The strange murder case fell under Nadia and Patrick's jurisdiction. The victim was a Chinese man named Edison Yao, whose body was discovered by a janitor, also Chinese, making an interpreter necessary. Before one could arrive, Nadia consulted the medical examiner. The autopsy revealed that Edison had been shot in the eye and killed instantly. Based on the trajectory and where he fell, he had been peering through the peephole at the moment of the shot. The bullet was only 5.8 millimeters in diameter, an unusual caliber, though easily found in China. This suggested a political assassination, far beyond the scope of regular police. They had no choice but to escalate the case to Counter-Terrorism Command. As the team reviewed evidence, technicians restored Edison's home security system. The footage showed no attacker at all, only the automatic doors opening and closing repeatedly. Terrified, the janitor claimed it was the work of ghosts, but Nadia and Patrick suspected something more, possibly similar to what happened with Sean. Out of options, they turned to Rachel for help. Elsewhere, Isaac and his aides visited Xanda, a Chinese AI corporation boasting highly advanced facial recognition. Despite their self-praise, Isaac remained unconvinced. After the bidding event, he shook hands with Xanda's CEO but made his stance clear. He could not trust them. Under Chinese law, private companies were required to cooperate with the state. If Xanda entered the UK under the guise of protection, it was inevitable that Chinese authorities would use it for intelligence gathering. As long as Isaac held office, Xanda would not set foot in Britain. In response, CEO Yan Wanglei warned him coldly. If Isaac truly believed Xanda's surveillance was so powerful, he should watch his own back. Everyone has secrets. Isaac froze at the remark. Rachel later arrived at the crime scene to join Nadia and Patrick. She asked them to share the suspicious footage so she could escalate it to counter-terrorism. They flatly refused, citing Sean's fate. No one wanted another scapegoat rotting in prison. Patrick even mocked Rachel, saying she was no match for them. Bitter but speechless, Rachel could only hold back her frustration. Meanwhile, Isaac convened CRC, a think tank of AI specialists, to prepare for a vote on whether to allow Xanda into the country. Its members included experts from many fields, among them, Edison Yao. At that moment, Isaac's aide, Edwards, interrupted the meeting with urgent news. A website had just published a story. A Nigerian woman named Victoria claimed she had 3 children with the UK's Home Secretary, Isaac. She wanted to bring them to Britain, but her immigration request was denied. To prove her story, she said she was willing to take a DNA test. Isaac was furious. He denied the allegation outright and ordered Edwards to demand the site take it down. Suspecting Xanda was behind it, he confronted Yan Wanglei, but Yan coolly dismissed him, saying, "If we really wanted to act against you, do you think we'd stoop to childish tricks like this?" With that, he slammed the door and walked away. Meanwhile, Rachel reported Edison Yao's case to Gemma, but Gemma's attitude was the same as ever: just do your duty and stop meddling. Frustrated, Rachel turned to Danny. She knew Gemma didn't trust her. After hearing her out, Danny glanced around and muttered, "The less you know, the better you sleep." Clearly, Rachel was still far from being accepted into surveillance. While Rachel kept struggling for a role at counterterrorism, Nadia and Patrick discovered that before his death, Edison Yao had made a phone call to a data analyst named Gerard. Based on Edison's panic before dying, the call must have been a warning. Patrick decided to investigate personally. He went to Gerard's company and learned the analyst was in a sleep pod on the 11th floor. Curious, Patrick went up, but right after he left, the building's security guard was murdered by an unknown assailant. Patrick caught sight of the guard lying in a pool of blood on the security monitors. Realizing danger was imminent, he called for backup and sprinted to the 11th floor. He woke Gerard and tried to get him out. They darted through the stairwell, hoping to evade the assassin. Patrick smashed a surveillance camera and shoved Gerard into a locker to hide, but when he turned around, Patrick was shot twice. Elsewhere, after a long day at work, Rachel returned home. In the bathroom, she turned on the water, scanned the walls with a device, then pulled a laptop out from the tub. She removed a micro camera hidden in her shirt button and uploaded the footage. It turned out Rachel had secretly been collecting evidence of counterterrorism tampering with surveillance feeds, though so far without results. Just then, she received a call. Patrick had been shot twice and was in intensive care. Fortunately, he had managed to protect Gerard. Rachel rushed to the hospital, only for Nadia to lash out at her, blaming Rachel for not stepping in sooner. The case was now far beyond local police. Nadia reported to Gemma, who suspected the killers were targeting CRC members. She ordered them moved to a secure facility under heavy guard, then left with her team, again leaving Rachel sidelined. With nothing else to do, Rachel comforted Patrick's wife and then sat at his bedside. Quietly, she told him she had never changed, she only pretended to cooperate in order to gather evidence, and begged him to wake up. Patrick's subordinate, Chloe, entered. From their exchange, Rachel learned Isaac and CRC members were all safe, but her instincts told her otherwise. Edison's murder was likely a ploy to herd CRC into one safe location, where the real attack would take place. They had all walked straight into the enemy's trap. Under police protection, Isaac was brought to a secure house. Gemma greeted him, insisting he surrender all electronic devices. As a result, he couldn't attend his scheduled live interview, losing a key opportunity for votes, much to his frustration. At that moment, Rachel and Nadia arrived on site. Rachel warned of danger, but Gemma brushed her off. The house was secure. Nothing could possibly happen. Instead, Gemma berated Rachel for breaking protocol and vowed to teach her a lesson. The two women clashed in a heated argument. Then came a shocking twist. Another Isaac appeared on live television giving an interview, even though the real Isaac was right there in the room. Who was this doppelganger? What stunned people even more was that the Isaac on TV declared Xanda perfectly safe, assuring the public that using Chinese AI posed no threat to the UK's national security. In an instant, his statement triggered a nationwide uproar. Colleagues believed he had lost his mind, and the words threatened to destroy his political career. Isaac knew he had to go to the BBC to clear his name. While Isaac raged at Gemma, Danny arrived. The situation was so complex that they had to reveal the existence of a secret technology known as Operation Shepherd's Crook. Before they explained further, both Rachel and Nadia were told to leave, but Isaac insisted Rachel stay. He voiced his suspicion that Yan Wanglei was behind it. China was trying to meddle in UK politics. Intelligence and defense scrambled to discuss countermeasures, while Isaac insisted on going to the BBC. Officials explained the truth. Operation Shepherd's Crook was a real-time image manipulation system. By interfering with surveillance feeds, it could fabricate any video evidence needed, used to frame supposed threats and put them behind bars. Very few knew of its existence, and now Isaac was among them. As a victim of this technology, Isaac couldn't go public to accuse Xanda, because Britain itself was using it. Bound by secrecy, he couldn't tell anyone, not even family or friends. Afterward, Danny and Gemma met privately. Danny handed Gemma full authority to handle Isaac's case and advised her to include Rachel, whose skills were exceptional. Even Isaac had been impressed with her. Gemma agreed. Rachel was finally part of counter-terrorism for real. Overjoyed, she went home, pulled out the laptop hidden in her bathtub, and uploaded the footage she had just captured. Step by step, she was getting closer to exposing the truth. While Rachel felt momentum building, Isaac found himself cornered. His wife scolded him about his interview, pointing out how poorly it came across, especially regarding racial issues. Isaac wanted to explain but couldn't. His phone was tapped. One wrong word could end his career. The next morning, Rachel joined a meeting at HQ. Based on Isaac's testimony, Yan Wanglei was now listed as a prime suspect. Plans were made to confront him at the Chinese embassy. Danny, as the highest-ranking officer, led the mission, bringing Chloe, a British-born Chinese officer, hoping her background might help. Meanwhile, Gemma took Rachel to meet Frank. Frank confirmed the AI technology capable of producing such convincing interviews was likely within China's reach. He added that the US government had just issued a ban. American intelligence could no longer support third-party espionage operations targeting China. With the UK so economically tied to China, America wouldn't get involved. At Gemma's request, Frank agreed to assign an operative to assist, but only on one condition: the technology could not be used against China. At the embassy, Danny and Chloe found Yan Wanglei already waiting. When pressed about Edison Yao's death and the attack on Gerard, Yan feigned ignorance. The Chinese ambassador sitting beside him also denied everything, then promptly ordered them out. Once outside, Danny arranged surveillance on the embassy's exits, ordering reports on any unusual movements from Yan. Chloe joined the team. Meanwhile, Gemma and Rachel went to the BBC, where the station uncovered a crucial detail. During Isaac's interview, host Khadija had complained about the poor connection speed. Technicians checked and discovered the IP address traced back to China. Clearly, the Isaac on screen hadn't been real. The BBC pressed Gemma for leads on hackers or deepfake tech, eager to run a breaking story. But the existence of Operation Shepherd's Crook had to remain secret. Gemma dodged their questions and temporarily shelved the investigation. To cooperate with the BBC, Rachel shared some information, namely the scandal about Isaac's alleged secret children. Isaac himself had no idea, but the smear left a stain on his political career. Home Secretary Rowan wanted him to go live, clear his name, and reverse his stance on Xanda. Isaac felt cornered, once again painted as a slippery politician. As they spoke, Danny arrived with troubling news. The BBC hack had been meticulously planned. Without a mole close to Isaac, it couldn't have happened. Isaac was stunned, then grew even angrier when Danny pressed him about the secret children rumor. How did they even know? The truth was, not just Danny but Rowan also knew. Because it touched the nation's image, Rowan demanded Isaac come to his office and explain. Isaac was furious. Why would he sabotage himself? As a black politician among a sea of white colleagues, he knew one misstep could ruin him. Rowan promised to help suppress the scandal. Still, Isaac asked Rowan or the Prime Minister to publicly disavow Xanda so he wouldn't bear the burden alone. Rowan brushed him off, telling him to go home and rest. Disappointed, Isaac realized he could only save himself. He accepted an invitation to BBC's Newsnight, teasing he had a hot scoop to reveal. Meanwhile, Rachel got a call from the hospital. Patrick was improving and about to wake up. She quickly asked her counter-terrorism colleagues to secure the hospital. Patrick had seen the shooter's face. He was now a vulnerable witness. Patrick's 2 children waited anxiously at his bedside. Rachel went to buy them a gift but, while waiting, spotted Frank. She chased after him, only to be warned off. Pushing it aside, she returned to wait outside the ward. Just then, Gemma phoned, ordering her to rush to the BBC. Isaac was about to blow things up. Rachel told the agents at the hospital, if Patrick woke up or if anything happened, they must call her immediately. She raced to the BBC and intercepted Isaac before he went on air. They're killing innocent people just to cover up the existence of deepfake tech, she warned. Isaac finally realized Rachel wasn't on their side. He hadn't planned to expose the technology, but events were spiraling out of control. Trying to stay calm, Isaac went ahead with the interview, sticking to the official script. He opposed letting Xanda into the UK, but when Rachel entered the control room, she froze in horror. On live TV, Isaac was shown doing the opposite, endorsing Xanda and making racially charged remarks. Hackers had hijacked the broadcast in real time. Rachel ordered the staff to cut the feed, but it was too late. The fake broadcast had already gone viral, beyond her control. She phoned Gemma for backup, then confronted the tech team. Both Khadija and the real Isaac stared in disbelief at the forged interview. Furious, Khadija reached for her phone to report it. Rachel stopped her. Not now. If you expose this tech, you'll need overwhelming evidence. Rachel's stance clearly wasn't aligned with counter-terrorism. After a pause, Khadija agreed to follow her lead and help investigate. Her cooperation surprised Gemma. Rachel admitted she had learned it from Gemma herself. While they handled the BBC crisis, elsewhere Chloe tailed Yan Wanglei leaving the Chinese embassy. Danny ordered her to follow him and had surveillance feeds pulled from surrounding streets to track his every move. Yan's car sped onto the motorway, likely heading for the airport. Was he fleeing? Strangely, his name wasn't on the last 24 hours of immigration records. He must have a fake identity. If Yan escaped the UK, the BBC hack would be buried with him, yet they couldn't authorize his arrest. As a Chinese national, only the Prime Minister could give that order. At that moment, Isaac stepped in. As Home Secretary, he had the authority to act in crises. He authorized counter-terrorism to apprehend Yan Wanglei and handed control of the BBC situation to Rachel. Gemma immediately headed for the airport. Reviewing Isaac's broadcast, Rachel noticed something troubling. The content carried racial undertones, never a good thing in Britain. But if Xanda was behind it, why smear their own company by using Isaac? While she puzzled over it, news came from the hospital. Patrick was about to wake up. Rachel decided to head back, and Isaac insisted on coming along. This case was tied to him, and Rachel was the only person he could trust. Meanwhile, Yan Wanglei's car reached the airport. If he stepped out, counter-terrorism would have cause to arrest him immediately, but surveillance never showed him exit the vehicle. Hearing Danny and Gemma's discussion over comms, Rachel realized this was a decoy. Patrick was the real target. She urgently called in the armed response team and ordered surveillance across the hospital. The report came back, everything normal. Arriving there, Rachel left Isaac in the car while she went inside. From the car, Isaac spotted a suspicious van, the same one he had seen outside his home before Edison Yao's murder. Alarmed, he phoned Rachel. She instantly tensed. The assassins were inside the hospital, ready to strike. Rachel radioed the agents guarding Patrick's room. The hostel is in the elevator. Stay sharp. The agents aimed at the doors, waiting, but the gunshots came from behind them. Inside, Patrick stirred awake. With his last strength, he lifted his phone, hoping to capture the attackers' faces, but they were cautious. Before leaving, they smashed the phone. By the time Rachel arrived, Patrick lay dead in a pool of blood. Fighting back grief, she reported it over comms. Then horror struck. Her own voice echoed back from the dead agent's radio, calmly declaring the patient safe and everything normal. Trying again, she realized counterterrorism systems had been hacked. Everything her colleagues saw was fake. They had all been deceived. The hospital plunged into chaos. At the same time, Gemma reached the airport but found no sign of Yan's car. Of course she didn't. Yan had already slipped back to his London home. Chloe tailed him but failed to transmit the intel. Watching the live feeds, Danny felt crushed. The entire operation had collapsed. Back in his car, Isaac saw two men climb into the van and prepare to leave. If he didn't follow, the trail would vanish. He jumped into the driver's seat, chased them, and called the police with his location and the van's plate number. But before he could finish, sirens wailed behind him. At first, he was relieved, British police responding so quickly, but moments later, dread set in. They weren't after the van, they pulled him over for speeding, ignoring the criminals. Clearly, someone was pulling strings. At the hospital, the armed team arrived too late. Danny was first on scene, admitting to Rachel that the entire system had been compromised. The mission was a total failure. Gemma soon joined them. The three retreated to a camera-free room to regroup. After checking the space, Rachel laid out her theory. This isn't China. Think about it. Someone capable of hijacking everything, our command center, the BBC, our comms, even cloning our voices. Who else but Frank from the US has that level of access and power? From his perspective, stoking conflict between the UK and China only serves his interests. She added, before the second BBC hack, she'd seen Frank at the hospital. He had even assigned a technician to assist Gemma. Motive means opportunity. He fit all three. Why couldn't it be Frank? He even killed Hannah before, just to cover up the deepfake tech. Rachel's blunt accusation was too much for Danny, who snapped back. Hannah was guilty too. Sensing Danny's anger rising, Rachel fell silent. She only remarked, if British counter-terrorism and US intelligence are joining forces to block Chinese AI from entering the UK and threatening national security, then Patrick's death can at least be seen as a sacrifice for the country. I can accept that. Her words hit home. Danny and Gemma were swayed, even beginning to suspect Frank. Isaac soon returned to the hospital, giving Rachel details about the suspicious van and the appearance of two assassins. It wasn't much, but at least it was something. Rachel then asked for time off, claiming exhaustion. Gemma approved immediately. Back home, Rachel noticed signs of a break-in. Entering cautiously, she found it was just her sister staying over. In their chat, her sister mentioned a burglary months ago. Nothing valuable had been stolen, but Rachel remembered she had hidden crucial evidence proving Sean's innocence. She checked at once. The memory card hidden behind a picture frame was gone. With no time to grieve, Rachel uploaded footage from her micro camera to her laptop. It captured Danny admitting the existence of deepfake technology and that Hannah's death was linked to counter-terrorism. This was the proof she needed. The footage also revealed two suspicious men who might have been Patrick's killers. Meanwhile, Isaac had taken his own precautions. After meeting Rachel the previous night, he went to see Rowan. With protests raging and the public demanding his resignation, Rowan was ready to sack him. The reason was simple. They had no proof the opposition was fabricating evidence, and if they did, it would still backfire on them. For the sake of politics, Isaac was to be sacrificed. But he refused to accept it. Before the meeting, Isaac had hidden a micro camera in his tie. The conversation with Rowan was recorded in detail. When it worked, Isaac was elated. Now he had an ace up his sleeve, a chance to turn the tables. Rachel also prepared for her next move. With solid evidence in hand, she knew her home wasn't safe anymore. She stashed the memory card in her car and told her sister to act normal, not to tip off whoever might be watching. Confused, her sister agreed. Rachel's next step was to find Isaac, now her most important ally. But Isaac's situation was dire. Reporters crowded outside his house. His family's life was in chaos, and the secret children scandal spread everywhere. After all, the British media extended far beyond the BBC. Isaac's wife confronted him after hearing the news. He denied it vehemently. Yes, he had met that woman once at his mother's funeral. She was the nurse. Beyond that, there had never been any relationship, and the children were a lie. He was being framed. Slowly, Isaac realized the attacks weren't aimed at the British government. He himself was the target. The rumor soon reached Rowan. Luckily, Isaac had left himself a way out, otherwise, he would have been finished. While Rowan smirked, Danny reported in. 2 seasoned operators, they quickly pieced it together. This wasn't China's doing. The US was pulling strings behind the facial recognition bidding. Rachel might have been right all along. Frank was involved. Danny asked Gemma to talk to Frank. Britain's surveillance network was compromised. They'd have to lean on America. If Frank wasn't the mastermind, he would surely help. But in reality, Frank was in no state to handle anything. His health was failing. Rachel had already seen him at the hospital seeking treatment. Gemma met Frank there. He admitted he had serious stomach issues. Gemma comforted him, sharing her own story. She had once battled cancer, undergone surgery, and survived. Her recovery came through faith, she said, urging Frank to do good, repent, and trust that God would forgive him. After pleasantries, they got to the main issue. Counter-Terrorism Command had suffered a massive cyber attack, leaving their systems crippled. They asked Frank to lend equipment to help their allies through the crisis. Frank didn't agree right away. He said he needed time to think. Meanwhile, Isaac was furious. His wife was pressing him to take a DNA test. He refused. Their enemies knew how to fabricate evidence, and his reputation couldn't take another hit. Deep down, he also feared what the results might show. As the couple argued, Rachel arrived and showed Isaac the video she had recorded during the hospital attack. He immediately recognized the 2 men as the assassins he had seen that night. Isaac then shared his own trophy, a recording of his meeting with Rowan. He asked Rachel if this was enough to expose Operation Shepherd's Crook and clear his name. Rachel shook her head. It still wasn't enough. She needed airtight proof, no room for error. Though disappointed, Isaac agreed and introduced her to someone who might help. Gerard. Patrick had saved Gerard, who was also a member of CRC. He had clearance to access Xanda's facial recognition system. Using it, they might identify Patrick's killers. Hearing Rachel's reasoning, Gerard admitted it wouldn't be easy but promised to try. Isaac's troubles, however, only grew worse. His wife found a photo online of him with Victoria, their body language intimate, a direct contradiction of his denials. He tried to brush it off, but his daughter showed him a video of him mowing the lawn while reporters outside grew more and more aggressive. Finally, his wife packed up the kids and left for her parents' home. It wasn't just about privacy anymore, she was completely disillusioned. Unable to stop her, Isaac turned back only to face a sea of phones pointed at him. Boiling over, he lashed out at the press, shouting, "I have news for you, the truth will be revealed soon." Then he stormed inside. The scene was broadcast nationwide. To most Britons, Isaac looked like a man unraveling. In just days he had lost his job, his family, and been dragged through a sordid scandal. Only a few who knew the deeper truth felt a chill down their spine. Rachel quickly phoned Isaac, urging him to stay calm. "Wait until the time is right. Don't be reckless. Besides, you've already agreed to the DNA test. If you're innocent, what's there to fear?" Isaac checked Twitter and froze. His account had posted a video of him admitting he had nothing to hide, promising to cooperate with a DNA test, and urging everyone to watch his BBC interview the next day. The situation was completely out of control. In rage, he smashed his computer. Elsewhere, Khadija met privately with Rachel. Isaac's public statements left her uneasy. She wanted an exclusive scoop, but if Isaac exposed the truth, her patience would mean nothing. Rachel played her the audio recording of Isaac's meeting with Rowan. That was enough to buy her cooperation, for now. Rachel's path was moving forward, but Frank's was collapsing. Doctors diagnosed him with terminal stomach cancer. Facing the end, Frank decided to test the power of faith Gemma had preached. He went to a church to confess, but the priest, citing the nature of Frank's work, said he couldn't help. He told him to see a doctor instead. At the same time, Isaac desperately needed a doctor of his own to save his crumbling marriage. His wife was convinced the alleged child was his. No matter how he denied it, his hesitation over the DNA test had already condemned him in her eyes. Even after agreeing, she warned him coldly, "If the results prove it, then we're done." Just then, a reporter knocked. Isaac stormed out angrily, only to be told they weren't there for questions. They had come to take him to the interview. After all, hadn't he already agreed to appear on the BBC? Realizing he had, Isaac climbed into the car, heading for the studio. Meanwhile, Rachel returned home. That morning, she had promised to listen to her sister talk about a new blog, but as soon as her sister mentioned Sean, Rachel tensed up. Her apartment was under surveillance, and Sean was a forbidden word here. She quickly cut her sister off, told her to change the subject, then excused herself, saying she was too tired and needed rest. At the BBC studio, Isaac was waiting to go live when he got a call from his aide with good news. Despite all the scandals, his approval ratings had suddenly surged. Before he could make sense of it, he was called into the studio. The moment of truth arrived, the DNA test results were revealed. He had no biological link to Victoria's child. The relief was palpable, not just for Isaac but for his wife too. This was an unexpected turn. Reinvigorated, Isaac delivered a flawless interview, swiftly flipping public opinion. Rachel also watched the broadcast, but she wasn't pleased. As long as Isaac stayed quiet about Operation Shepherd's Crook, things remained under control. Then Gerard called. He had identified the assassin, a Russian working for a private security firm. Rachel was puzzled. Back at his hotel, Isaac basked in triumph. Relaxing in the tub, he received a call. The voice praised his performance and asked for a face-to-face meeting. Moments later, the doorbell rang. Nervously checking the monitor, Isaac froze. Standing at his door was himself. Could there really be another version of him out there? Summoning courage, Isaac opened the door, only to find his aide, Edwards. Was this part of the trick? Edwards told him to calm down. Someone had sent him to fetch Isaac, promising that there he would finally learn the whole truth. Afterward, Isaac rushed to his mother-in-law's house. With the DNA results out, his wife was calmer but still confused. Why had the Home Office rejected Victoria's immigration request? If it wasn't Isaac's decision, then whose was it? Isaac reassured her, promising to find out. At the same time, Gemma led counter-terrorism agents to Frank. He agreed to lend them equipment, reasoning that if he was dying, he might as well do some good. He admitted his people had been monitoring Rachel, something she was already aware of, even playing along. Gemma brushed it off. The plan would continue. After the BBC broadcast, Rachel tried to reach Isaac but failed. Meanwhile, he happily returned to government offices, seeking out Eliza, who monitored his polling numbers. He asked her to investigate Victoria's immigration file, hoping to use it against Rowan. Leaving the office, Isaac bumped into Rachel. She asked him to report the Russian assassin's identity to counter-terrorism. As Home Secretary, his word would carry weight. Then, they could move forward with exposing Operation Shepherd's Crook. But Isaac seemed indifferent. For politicians, power was the ultimate prize, enough to make them abandon allies. Unable to sway him, Rachel turned to Khadija. She suspected that Khadija's interview with Victoria had fueled Isaac's anger, pushing him to cut ties. Rachel didn't realize Chloe overheard, though Chloe pretended not to. During Rachel's leave, counter-terrorism underwent major changes. Headquarters moved to American facilities. Danny resigned after the last failure, and Gemma became Rachel's direct superior. Rachel and Chloe arrived at the new base. A colleague told her they had identified Patrick's killer, a Russian. Stunned, Rachel asked how they knew. Gemma didn't answer right away, instead taking her to see something. On the night Patrick was murdered, one hospital camera had survived the hack. Tech staff restored the footage, revealing the assassin's face. Gemma then gave Rachel her next assignment. Chloe had officially joined counter-terrorism and needed guidance. Rachel was now the perfect mentor. Meanwhile, Isaac was speaking with Rowan. The tables had turned, and now Rowan was the one in trouble. Bitter and weary, Rowan lamented all the help he had once given Isaac. When Victoria's immigration request crossed his desk, he hadn't even bothered to consider it, just brushed it aside. Now Isaac wanted to replace him. Rowan wasn't surprised. He had already suspected it. All Isaac wanted was to hear him admit it, so he could hold an ace up his sleeve. At the same time, Rachel spotted something off. Frank claimed they had identified the assassin by restoring original camera footage, but Rachel remembered clearly. The footage had been doctored and would have been nearly impossible to recover. It smelled like a trap. She quickly called her sister, telling her to fetch her laptop, then went to confront Gerard. There, she discovered his company was called Clear Horizons, an American AI firm. After Xanda failed its bid, Clear Horizons had succeeded, winning access to the UK's border security system. If Xanda was only a decoy, Clear Horizons was the true beneficiary. When Rachel pressed him, Gerard dodged, only heightening her suspicions. She pieced it together. The murder of Edison Yao and the string of attacks had all been orchestrated to place Gerard under police protection, away from public scrutiny. That allowed him to set further attacks in motion, leaving the UK pointing fingers at China while overlooking the real player, the United States. Gerard refused to cooperate. When Rachel called for backup, he knocked her out. But Rachel wasn't weak. She fought back fiercely in his office. After a brutal struggle, she overpowered him, but danger was already closing in. The Russian assassin's next target was her. She had learned too much, and they intended to eliminate her just as they had Patrick. Rachel ran for her life, clutching a shard of glass to fight back. Surveillance exposed her every move. Just as the assassin closed in, he was suddenly attacked by his own ally. It had been Gemma and Frank's plan all along, to pin Patrick's death on a scapegoat and flush Rachel out as a supposed traitor. For Isaac, it was another sleepless night. Rowan's approval ratings plummeted while his own soared, leaving him wondering if Gerard's claims might actually be true. Flashback to the day Edwards had taken him to meet Gerard. Back then, Gerard's detailed presentation revealed that everything Isaac had experienced was engineered by him, but contrary to Isaac's fears, Gerard hadn't been trying to ruin him, he was manipulating data to push Isaac to the top. In today's fractured political landscape, Clear Horizons had built a system where each community saw the version of reality designed to sway them. Isaac's sudden surge in popularity was proof of their power. Later, Gerard met Isaac privately. As for making him look like a racist, Gerard said regretfully it was just how the algorithm worked, the data couldn't be wrong. Then he made his pitch. Clear Horizons could put Isaac in the Prime Minister's seat. At first, Isaac thought it absurd. After everything, not choking Gerard on the spot was restraint enough. But Gerard was slippery and persuasive, and soon Isaac was wavering. Eventually, Isaac received another call from Gerard, repeating his invitation to join him. This time, Isaac agreed. Meanwhile, Rachel was dragged back to Counter-Terrorism Command and locked in a solitary cell. Terrified, she heard the speakers play back every secret recording she had ever made. They had known about her plan all along. Frank appeared behind her. The evidence was undeniable. He said no explanations were needed. He began his interrogation, harsh and relentless. Rachel demanded Gemma interrogate her instead. She had nothing to say to Frank. In her eyes, he was the one colluding with Gerard, staging events to let Clear Horizons into Britain, sending the Russian assassin to kill Patrick, and disposing of him once he was no longer useful. Frank admitted Rachel was right. In that moment, he wanted to kill her, but Gemma stepped in just in time. She said what she really wanted to know was who else was involved in exposing the deepfake operation. Facing Gemma, Rachel reluctantly cooperated. Since joining counter-terrorism, she had never been trusted, her apartment bugged, her every move monitored. How could she be sure that if she confessed, Gemma's people wouldn't kill her anyway? Against someone as stubborn as Rachel, force was useless. Gemma tried a different approach. Danny had resigned, she said, and she would be taking his position. Rachel, meanwhile, could be promoted into hers. If it hadn't been for Rachel's quick intervention earlier, she would have ended up like Patrick. Finally, Gemma laid down the ultimate threat, a fabricated confession video using the same technology that had ruined Isaac. Once released, Rachel would be branded a traitor. The horror of such a possibility left Rachel shaken. Meanwhile, with Gerard's backing, Isaac steadily advanced into his new role. Gerard laid out his next steps, opening a war museum, promoting sports initiatives, and giving an exclusive interview to address his feud with Rowan. But as Isaac's career soared, his marriage crumbled. His wife discovered that Victoria's immigration request had been rejected by the Home Office. If Isaac truly had nothing to do with her, why would they interfere? The revelation opened her eyes to the true face of politicians, always blaming deepfakes and fabricated videos. Sadly, her husband was one of them. She could no longer convince herself to live with such a man. She filed for divorce. Back at headquarters, Rachel finally laid out everything she knew before Danny and Gemma. Her allies had once included Isaac and Khadija, but Isaac had clearly stepped away. That left only Khadija, and she would be easy to handle, since she cared only about herself. Rachel also volunteered that she had another memory card in her car, a copy, which should be destroyed. Gemma phoned her contacts at the BBC for assistance, while Danny signaled Rachel to provide false testimony. In this business, that's just how it works. As they spoke, Frank arrived carrying a hard drive taken from Gerard. Inside was data from tech companies worldwide, the very reason they had partnered. Gerard was the mastermind, using Clear Horizons' algorithm to predict everyone's moves, a mutual benefit, Frank called it. But he was mistaken. Gerard had used an entirely new algorithm. Without the password, the drive was inaccessible, impossible to copy or alter. Clearly, Gerard feared betrayal, and counter-terrorism would need to show good faith to get the password. Meanwhile, Isaac confronted Gerard. He now doubted the algorithm. He had followed it step by step, so why was his wife divorcing him? Gerard's reply was chilling. The algorithm doesn't like your wife. The algorithm is authority. Follow it. Divorce means nothing. If you want to be Prime Minister, stop thinking so small. As their argument heated up, Edwards entered with news. Isaac had been offered an exclusive BBC interview at 8 p.m. Thursday. This was Destiny's turning point. Once it aired, Isaac would be named Home Secretary. Isaac was swayed. At the BBC, Gemma brought Rachel to Khadija, dangling promotions, pay raises, and a string of exclusives to buy her loyalty. Days later, Patrick's case was officially closed. The killer was identified as a Russian hitman, with no connection to Gerard. Counter-terrorism had shown good faith, and Gerard immediately sent them the password. At Patrick's funeral, a large crowd gathered. Facing Patrick's widow and children, Rachel was racked with guilt, especially when they thanked her for shooting the man who had killed him. It left her more conflicted than ever. On Thursday night, everything was ready for Isaac's exclusive interview, but he was stunned to see the interviewer was not who he'd been told. It was Khadija. This wasn't part of the plan. Isaac immediately stood up to leave, unaware that everyone was watching through surveillance cameras. It didn't matter if the real Isaac walked out, that only made it easier for the AI to take his place. The staff adjusted quickly, and at exactly 8 p.m., the fake Isaac began the interview. Watching from afar, Gerard was floored, because he was on the phone with the real Isaac, who had sworn he wasn't doing it. Gerard realized at once, a man hungry enough for power to cast aside his own family would never skip such an opportunity. The Isaac on the phone had to be fake. The real Isaac, meanwhile, watched the broadcast of an interview he hadn't given. On live TV, his double denounced Gerard's company, accusing AI firms of manipulating data to influence elections and politics. Gerard froze. That wasn't Isaac on screen, but it didn't matter. His entire plan was collapsing. He bolted, knowing he could never return to the UK. Frank, however, was savoring Gerard's panic. Then came a call from the hospital. The good news, his health was fine. The bad, his CT scans had been tampered with. They were just digital files pulled from the system. Furious, Frank realized Gemma had played him. She had faked his medical records to make him think he was dying, luring him deeper into the plot. Now that the UK had Gerard's data, the two clashed bitterly in front of everyone. In the chaos, Rachel seized her chance. She rewrote the AI script, and suddenly the fake Isaac changed his lines, exposing the existence of Operation Shepherd's Crook. Gemma caught on and ordered Khadija to stop the broadcast, but it was too late. Khadija had never planned to cover it up. She was a journalist with a conscience. At that point, Gemma realized Rachel had been playing her all along. She accused Rachel of breaching national security and tried to have her arrested, but they were on American soil. UK law meant nothing here. Gemma turned to Frank for help, but he just watched, amused. This is payback, his silence seemed to say. Gemma chased after Rachel, only to be shoved aside. Rachel told her, "I know exactly what I've done, and I know Patrick would never have approved of what you're doing." With that, she walked away. On screen, the fake Isaac's interview continued. His final words chilled the audience. "You see me through a screen, but how can you be sure it's really me speaking to you?" The real Isaac was engulfed by the crowd, while Rachel allowed herself a quiet smile of triumph. Seeing isn't always believing. Only when we witness with our own eyes do we truly have proof. Sean's innocence, Patrick's wrongful death, Rachel's conscience, at last, all were vindicated. Compared to Season 1's 8.9 rating, The Capture Season 2 scored an impressive 9.3. With more players, higher stakes, and even deeper intrigue, this season gave audiences a broader, more unsettling perspective. Frank and Gerard joined forces. Gerard's company wanted to break into the UK market, pulling strings behind politicians to influence the country's politics. Frank, on the other hand, wanted Gerard's data to supercharge his surveillance system, but standing in their way was the Chinese AI company Xanda, which the UK government originally planned to hand the project to, something the US strongly opposed. To take Xanda down, Gerard chose Isaac as their pawn. Because of his skin color, Isaac's political career faced steep barriers. Frank and Gerard set the stage, assassinating Edison Yao, staging Gerard's attack and framing Yan Wanglei, misleading British intelligence. Then, using Isaac's AI double, they painted Xanda as racist to block their entry into the UK. But the plan didn't go as smoothly as expected. Patrick uncovered the scheme. Unfortunately, he was too hard to kill. 2 bullets weren't enough. Frank had no choice but to strike the counter-terrorism command center, sending in a Russian hitman to silence Patrick while eliminating 2 agents. Piece by piece, Rachel caught on. She happened to spot Frank at a hospital visit and guessed he was the mastermind. Shifting her investigation, Gemma grew wary and met Frank in private. During their talk, he slipped about Patrick's death. Gemma seized the lead, altering Frank's medical records to convince him he had terminal cancer. Broken by despair and clinging to the power of faith, Frank agreed to lend her his system. That way, Gemma secured Gerard's data and plotted to expose Rachel as well. Frank wanted Rachel dead, just like Hannah before her, but Gemma saw potential. Without Rachel's instincts, she'd still be in the dark. Killing her would be wasteful. Better to exploit her. Rachel played along, giving testimony that pinned everything on the Russian assassin. With her help, Frank and Gemma got Gerard's data. Then, through Isaac's AI double, they revealed Gerard's schemes and claimed to protect national security. But Rachel wasn't done. While Frank and Gemma argued, she secretly rewrote the AI script. The fake Isaac went live, exposing the existence of Operation Shepherd's Crook, a chilling callback to Season 1. In the final shots, Rachel is no longer alone. Others are with her. Danny likely understood her plan but chose silence. After all, Frank was the man who cost him his career, and the fallen agents were Danny's men. His words show a sliver of conscience remains, unlike Gemma or Frank. By the end, viewers are left with one haunting question: in an age where videos can be fabricated and even live broadcasts forged by AI, what's left that we can truly believe in? That wraps up the full story of The Capture Seasons 2. What do you think? How many points out of 10 does this show deserve? Drop your rating in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.